This is the Financially Simple Podcast, a show dedicated to destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner. And now, here's your host, pizza-loving, certified financial planner, Justin Goodbread.
Welcome to Financially Simple. I'm your host, Justin Goodbread, and today we're going to continue our dive, as I call it, a deep dive, if you will, into the subject of building your team, or some people call it employees, I call it a team, for the maximum value growth of your business. The sales price. We're trying to grow the sales price of our business. I've titled today's episode, 12 Ways to Grow Your Employee Team. In her book, Growing Great Employees, Erica Anderson outlines many of the points I deal with throughout the podcast concerning employees. I especially love in her book how she relates the art of growing employees to gardening. Now, for the long-term listener who have heard me on the podcast, you know that I love gardening. I feel a little miffed this year. I didn't get to plant a garden this year. Just unbelievable amount of travel, unbelievable amount of work. But I'm already in plans. I'm working on the garden for next year. We're doing some pretty cool stuff. You may also know that I have a degree in horticulture. So I love plants. I like the idea of growing things, doing some hard manual labor, and then watching God create the environment to grow these crazy little plants, sometimes from seeds, sometimes from cuttings, sometimes from propagation, just a number of different ways. In episode number 10, I illustrated that culture and value were akin to gardening. For example, I said value is the soil, like in a greenhouse. It's the soil. It's where things grow from. And culture is the greenhouse. It's the atmosphere. If your soil is trash, if you don't have the right pH, then the species of plant that you're trying to grow is probably not going to grow very well. I've had this issue growing blueberries. Blueberries have to have a very acidic soil. So you typically put like pine bark or oak leaves or pine needles in the hole whenever you plant the soil. And then you use some different elements to reduce the pH of the soil. I've had a hard time growing that. My soil hasn't been right on our farm. On the other hand, green beans, man, they grow like a weed. If I just throw a green bean seed in, each plant or each vine is just going to be covered with green beans. Very similar, the value of your company is what allows the things to grow. And the atmosphere or the way the weather conditions are is like your culture, the culture of the company. This year we had a lot of rain in Knoxville, and so we didn't have to water as much, even with some of the roses that I planted. I have a gorgeous rose garden on one side of our house. And I didn't have to water as much this year because of the greenhouse effect that took place in East Tennessee. If you move on through the episodes, in episode 53, I gave the exact hiring process to the way we actually hire team members here with our company, Heritage Investors and Financially Simple. It's rather lengthy. In fact, it's one of the most popular and downloaded episodes from the Financially Simple podcast is our hiring process. Is it for everybody? No. Is it strenuous? Yes. I believe you hire right the first time. And we have built an excellent team with high talented, high quality employees who honestly love what we do. Now, are they always happy? No. Am I always happy? No. But I honestly believe we all do our best to strive and help those who we serve on a day-by-day basis. In episode 74, I gave an illustration on the DISC, D-I-S-C method for hiring and why knowing the personalities of your team is so valuable in the hiring process, especially for the area you're hiring for. So we've been building up to this point now to grow your team. We just dealt with the culture of your company. Now I want to deal with how you're going to grow your team. With that backdrop, I want to give you this research from Gallup. Gallup's research says that 87% of millennials say that development, personal development, career development is a important part of the job, or it's important in a job that they're seeking. 87%. 87%. That's a high number of today's workforce who's entering the workforce as millennials, that particular generation, who believe that job development is important. So I want to start with the 12 ways, with that as a background, 12 ways to grow your team. Number 1, ask questions about their life path. What do they want to accomplish from the business? What do they want to accomplish from this job? Do they see this as a stepping stone? You know, if you're trying to grow your company, you may not need employees who are going to be here today, gone tomorrow. Instead, you want employees or you want team members who are going to come alongside and want advancement. They want advancement in compensation, responsibility, duties, and ultimately whatever their desire is. I know individuals who never want to be the top dog. They always want to have somebody who's giving really good, clear orders. On the other hand, I know individuals who they want to be the top dog. They want to be the best salesperson they can be. They want to be the CEO of the company. They want to be an executive of a particular division. So you want to ask about the life path. What is this individual looking for with employment in your particular organization? The second thing you're going to do is you're going to encourage professional development. So whenever you bring your team on, you constantly want to educate and you constantly want to help them move forward with their knowledge base. We're not going to settle for status quo. We're not going to be lackluster. We want a high motivated group of team members. If you give proper guidance in the development, then you can grow the future leaders of your organization. In our organization, you've heard me mention Miss Julie before. Miss Julie has come a long ways in just since we started. It's been amazing to watch her skill set. Now there's several things that she does that honestly, I don't even know that she does them because it's out of my mind. I don't think about it anymore. Let me tell you, as someone who is working in various fields, various things like a termite and a yo-yo many times, it's awesome to have someone like Miss Julie who takes pride in what she's doing, sincerely cares about it, loves the people we serve. I see that throughout our whole organization. We serve a lot of great people. Clients are rock stars. And it's fun to watch Miss Julie interact with clients and knowing that nothing she says is going to be out of guile or harm to herself, the organization, or much less the client. So that came with personal development. We've invested in our team members. This year, we spent a lot of money on personal training. We had people go all over the country trying to help each of us be better at our positions so that we can grow as an organization. And as we grow, we're now building the future leaders of our organization. It's fun to watch. It really is. As you work through the encouragement of professional development, then you're going to create a development plan. One of the things I'm working on right now is turning over much of my day-to-day operations where I can think, read, and help. And our team members have stepped up. They stepped up in big ways. We have laid out in our quarterly meeting or in our semi-annual meeting this year, the exact development process, what it's going to take for each of the team members to move to that next step. It's going to take some training. It's going to take some responsibility. It's going to take some hard work. It's going to take a number of different things. But ultimately, we establish some goals and we establish some expectations and we get those in our vision way out on the horizon. And as a team, we constantly are pushing for those goals. Now, does it mean we're going to hit them every time? No, no one ever does. No one ever does. But it nonetheless helps guide each of us. And the cool thing about it, if you do it right and you get your team involved, your team is going to tell you whenever you're smoking crack. They're going to tell you, dude, you're off base here. And I love that. I love it when our team says, Justin, this is not the right way. Now, hard thing for us entrepreneurs is put our pride aside and listen to our team. Listen to our team. They are often in the trenches and they can see things clearer than we can. So that's a hard one for me. It's something I struggle with. I'm trying to get better at it, but it's one of those things we work through is creating a development plan. The fourth thing you can do to grow a great team member or grow your employee team is to turn your weekly meetings into educational meetings. Guys, I got to tell you, this is something I'm weak at. As I was writing this, I said, I need to get back to doing this. And that is bringing out one point every week that I can teach some type of key element or have somebody teach a key element. I go back to Miss Julie. She runs a particular software in the organization for us. It's our CRM system. She is the owner of that CRM. She knows it better than anybody else in the organization, and we trust her for that. She has taught us many things in that particular software that we're learning. We're getting better at. Are we there? No, we're a long ways from getting efficient. I'm probably the worst at it all because I feel like I've worked so many systems. I just don't want to learn another one. Our team, nonetheless, have listened to her teach. And that's one way you can build great team members or grow the team members to where they want to be.
You are listening to Financially Simple, destroying the complexities of money for today's small business owner.
The other thing you can do is number 5, you can pair your team members with mentors. Now, in a small business like ours, we have a total of 9 employees, team members, subcontractors that are paramount to our business, it's hard to break it down to where you have mentors. So, for example, in our organization on the day-to-day operations with Heritage Investors, we have 4 players currently involved. We're bringing in another CFP here very soon, Certified Financial Planner, to help handle our client load. But in that avenue, we are pairing up some skill sets. So I work right now in the compliance world. And one of the things we're working on, Miss Julie, for example, is she's going to help me in compliance. Jim, we've heard me mention Jim before. He does day-to-day client account opening and processing. He teaches me things. John's behind the scene, keeping us all pushing in the same direction with cohesiveness and speech. So we all have a little bit of mentorship that I call it cross-pollination. We're teaching each other constantly how to improve. Now, whenever you go that leads right into number 6, and that's to delegate. As a business owner, you have to delegate. You have to delegate. And then you can't just delegate. You have to let go. I've seen so many business owners, they'll say, hey, I want you to do this, and then they micromanage. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with micromanaging. It's something that I work very hard to not do any further. One of the things, for example, in Financially Simple, I was micromanaging the colors, for example. I just don't have time. I don't want to do that. I want to trust my team and their experience. And so one of the things I'm doing is delegating and then letting go. Now, that's not easy. That's not easy for an entrepreneur to do. But if you're going to grow, you have to trust your team. You have to trust your team. So number 6 is to delegate. But as you delegate, it pairs perfectly into number 7 to use stretch assignments. Stretch assignments. What do I mean by stretch assignments? You know the strengths and weaknesses of your team, and your team know the strengths and weaknesses of you. That's given. You spend so many hours a day together. You become family if you build a good work environment. But as you're growing the team, you have to push the team members a little further than they are comfortable. Go back to your exercise days. If you were trying to maybe run a mile at a certain particular speed, you would eventually have to create some conflict within your body so that your body became stronger so that you could reach that speed. You stretched your abilities. You're going to use the same in your team members. You're going to stretch their abilities. I can remember, go back to Miss Julie. I told her, I said, I'm going to be using you today. She said, oh, I hope not. But go back to Miss Julie. Whenever we started with our CRM system, part of my delegation and my major micromanagement, which I'm trying to correct, was to have her own, is the word I use, own the position, own the job. Man, it was a little tough there for about a 2-month period. Not anything that she did, but just watching the stretch assignment push and hurt in the sense that it strengthened the long-term viability of her knowledge and her position. And it stretched in a big way. So now after that one assignment, as we go forward, we continue to stretch. She stretches us. She adds value and adds assignments. I watched her today with Jim pushing through a particular process and causing him to stretch outside of his comfort zone. So when you're trying to grow a team, you've got to stretch. You've got to push the team outside their comfort zone, but you're no exception. You're no exception to the rule. There's no one in your office or no one in your job or no one on your production field who should work harder, who should work smarter, who should be the number one. Remember, a leader is the person out front, not the one out behind the back barking orders. Your leader has to be the person who is receiving the most stretching. If you're being a dictator, you're not going to grow a good team. One of the things I hope is that our team, every person that's ever hired by this organization will say that Justin works harder, smarter, faster, longer than anybody in the organization. That's my personal desire because I want the team to see that I am so dedicated to them and to this organization, the clients that we serve, that I'm pouring every ounce that I can into the improvement of everybody who I impact on a day-by-day basis. So you can use stretch assignments in your team. The 8th thing you can do is you can help your team build networks. You can help your team build networks. We were talking with the new employee or the new team member. I hate using the word employee. You know that, but I have to for SEO purposes. But we were talking to the new team member. And one of the things I said is we're going to grow your network. We're going to grow the opportunities within the organization, number one, but we're also going to grow your opportunities outside the organization so that you can build strong connections. I try to do that with everybody in the team. Some parties we can, some parties we can't, but you can help build your networks of your team members. If you're worried about them being a flight risk, that they're going to leave you tomorrow for another dollar somewhere else, and you don't have the good culture. We already talked about you should be paying your team members at the top end of the marketplace for where their job is. That's no doubt. If you can't, then you can offer incentive bonuses. That's something that I try to work on here. I think we pay everybody at the top of the market or real close to it. And then we can do some things that we're going to talk about next episode. If you can't go all the way to the top, then you can do things like additional days off. You can do things like fun days. We have a Mexican Friday that we do. We have a little Mexican restaurant down the road that we know the owners on. And we'll go down and sit there and have a good time. We'll eat some chips. We'll have some great food. Just sit together. We have about an hour, 2 hour long lunch, just kind of a decompression. That's just some culture that you can add as you help build your team. Number 9, though, and this is probably one that is hardest for entrepreneurs. I don't know it's hard for me, and that is to show the employees or your team members that you trust them. Show them that you trust them. See, whenever I talk about micromanagement, to me, micromanagement is the lack of trust. It means that you don't trust the team members. You don't trust their life experience. You don't trust their knowledge. You have to let them stretch or learn their jobs. You have to let yourself learn your job, but you have to let your team members learn their jobs and get out of their way. You want them to know what your expectations are, and you want them to know what the behavior and the model that you expect. But then you've got to step back and then show your team members that you trust them. Trust is earned. Reagan said, trust but verified. It's the same thing in the organization. If you're giving your team members stretch assignments and you're delegating and you're putting them with mentors like we talked about and you're working through professional development, then shut up, leave them alone, and let the team members do their job. Like, Justin, that's kind of harsh. Yeah, I'm talking to myself there. I'm talking to myself because I have a problem with micromanaging. It's my personality. It's no excuse. But one of the things you have to do is trust your team. I've noticed that the more I trust the team and don't micromanage, the more seamless the operation goes because they are smart people. You're not working with dummies. You know the people you hired. You hired them for a reason. You hired them for their character, their background, their knowledge, their expertise. Some reason you hired them. Trust them. Now, number 10, you're going to have to be willing to spend money. I talked about training this year. We spent a boatload, as some people say, of money this year on training, a ton of money on training. Do I regret it? No, not at all. I've watched each member of the team get rejuvenated, and myself included, rejuvenated from the knowledge that they learn. In fact, this next year, I even told some of the other members in the Financially Simple team that we're going to have them at a particular conference that I think will help them in their jobs because it gives them an opportunity to take a break. It gives them an opportunity to relax, stretch their minds a little bit, but you're going to have to spend money. You're going to have to spend money on training. You're going to have to spend money on tools. We're going to talk about that in the next couple of episodes, but you're going to have to be willing to spend money if you're going to grow your team. Another thing you can do is you can do job shadowing at number 11. Consider job shadowing. If you have a certain player within your organization that you want to move up into management and you want to move one of the managers around, consider job shadowing. That's simply where you put a person with another person and let them listen to how they're working. We're watching this in Financially Simple right now. We have one of our writers, we're turning over some SEO work to them. And I've been watching the member who particularly does the SEO right now. I've been watching them shadow. I've been watching the two shadow each other so they can learn SEO. So you're going to have to consider job shadowing. Number 12, be ready for this one. Ask for feedback. Ask for feedback. And I'm going to put another filter on here without getting your feelings hurt. You know, just because you're the boss doesn't mean you know everything. Just because you're the boss or you're the entrepreneur, your name's on the door doesn't mean that you have all the answers. Ask your team members how you can improve. Ask them a question, what can I do for you? Is there anything I can do for you today to help your day go better? Remember, we're here to serve. As the owner of the company, you are there to serve. You're there to serve your customers, your clients, and you're there to serve your team. If you put yourself out front for everybody to serve you, you've totally ruined your ability to grow your team. You've totally ruined your culture of your company. So number 12 is ask for feedback and be ready for it. And don't take offense. You have to create an environment where the members of your organization, no matter where they're at in the job title, can speak with respect. I'm not telling you to get beat up. You need to be able to have people who can speak to you honestly. And I love it. I got to tell you, I love it when my team says, hey, Justin, you dropped the ball on this. Here's how we can improve this in the future. Miss Julie's good at that. That's one of the things I love about her is that she just will say, Justin, right, you got to get this done. So with that, guys, I'm going to leave this particular episode. Growing a team is not easy, but it can be accomplished. Hey, sign up for our newsletter. We've got some pretty cool stuff coming out about teamwork and growing your organization. Go to financiallysimple.com. You'll see all the different links there to sign up for the newsletter. Our blog is getting a facelift right now, and we're trying to speed it up. We're working with GoDaddy, who's our hosting company, and we're doing some pretty cool stuff on the blog, some new restructuring, some categorization things. Our team is working actively as we speak doing that. Take a look there, sign up for the newsletter. Like I said in the past, it's some of the best writing I do, and we had like 200 or so people sign up this last week, I think it was. I don't remember the exact time frame. Check it out. The newsletter is awesome. Like I say every week, folks, life is hard. It is. Life is hard. I do not deny that. Business is hard. Life is good. Life is good. Life can be frustrating, though, but money doesn't have to be, nor does business. Hey, let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Y'all go out and make it a great day.
You have been listening to the Financially Simple podcast. The information in this show is for informational purposes only. This show is not investment advice. Instead, seek help from a competent financial advisor. Justin Goodbread, CFP, is an investment advisor representative of Heritage Investors, a registered investment advisor.